Pipetting. In this video, you will learn how to use a microliter pipette. With a microliter pipette, you can transfer small volumes of liquid. Pipettes are made by different companies and come in different sizes. Each pipette has the following parts: the plunger button, tip ejector button, volume adjustment knob, and the shaft. These parts will be explained later in this video. The most common pipettes are the P1000, P200 and P20 pipettes. The volumes that each pipette can accurately handle are indicated on the pipette. Remember the following. With a P1000 pipette, you can accurately pipette a volume between 200 and 1000 microliters. With a P200, between 20 and 200 microliters. And with a P20 pipette, between 2 and 20 microliters. For smaller volumes, there is a P2 or P1 pipette. Before starting, you have to decide which pipette is most suitable for what you need to do. For each pipette, there is a specific size of tips to use. There are 3 different sizes of tips. Tips that take up 1000 microliters for the P1000 pipette. In general, these tips come in blue. Tips that go up to 200 microliters for the P200, P100, P20 and P10 pipette. In general, these tips come in yellow. There are also tips for larger or smaller volumes. To use a pipette to handle a liquid, follow these steps. First, adjust the pipette to the required volume. You do this by turning the volume adjustment knob. The volume is indicated on the pipette. Read the volume from top to bottom. Turn the knob until the required volume is reached. You will now see a P200 pipette that is adjusted to 50 microliters. If the required volume level has been reached, you can put a tip on the pipette. Do not use too much force, but let the weight of the pipette do the work. Attach the tip to the pipette in a straight movement and avoid rocking the pipette from side to side, otherwise the shaft of the pipette may get damaged. Make sure that the tip is pushed on firmly, otherwise liquid may drip out during pipetting. You can use your hand to put on non-sterile tips. Again, push the tip straight on without rocking from side to side to avoid damaging the pipette. And make sure that the tip is pushed on firmly, otherwise liquid may drip out during pipetting. Hold the pipette in your hand like this. Wrap your fingers around the pipette and lay your thumb on the plunger button. The plunger button has 2 stops. The first stop corresponds to the volume set on the pipette. The second stop is used to completely expel the liquid out of the pipette tip. To draw liquid up into the tip, press the plunger to the first stop. Holding down the plunger button, immerse the tip in the liquid. Release the plunger button smoothly and slowly to the top to draw liquid into the tip. When releasing the plunger, the tip has to stay immersed in the liquid. If the plunger button is released too fast, you may get liquid in the shaft of the pipette. It is very important to avoid this, otherwise the pipette will be contaminated and will not be able to be used without being completely cleaned again. If you release the plunger button while the tip is no longer immersed in the liquid, the pipette will take up air. This should also be avoided. With liquid in the pipette tip, the pipette must be kept upright with the pipette tip pointing down. If the pipette tip is held upside down, liquid may get into the pipette shaft. Again, this will contaminate the pipette and it cannot be used until it is completely cleaned. You can now transfer the liquid. Place the end of the tip against the wall of a clean Eppendorf tube. Keep the pipette upright and tilt the Eppendorf tube. The liquid is therefore dispensed out at an angle. Press the plunger button down slowly to the first stop. After a short pause, continue to the second stop to expel the entire volume in the tip. While holding down the plunger button, take the pipette tip away from the tube. If you release the plunger button while still near the expelled liquid, you may accidentally draw liquid back up into the tip. Now you can discard the tip by pressing the tip ejector button. Push the tip off into a suitable waste bag. Use a clean tip every time. When you're finished, refill the box with tips. If you're working with sterile tips, remove the old autoclave tape and stick on a new piece. Put the box in the autoclave room so that it can be autoclaved again.